Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Thursday night mid-major. We call this Sickos Thursday, and we got the full cast of Sickos in the building tonight. Myself, Joe Tansey, Mark Henry Jr., and Ryan Coyle. Guys, look, no one's advertised today as the best day of basketball for sure. Just because there's day basketball and conference tournaments have started doesn't mean it's good basketball. It certainly has it. I mean, heck, Pacific scored 2 points in 13 minutes right now. Valpo got rolled by Belmont. There haven't been Murray State, not played well at all. Look, we're not advertising this as good basketball, but this has been especially bad basketball today.
Yeah, I mean 39-2. That's insane. both of the coaches of those schools got fired this week. So you didn't really know what team would show up or if either of them, but I mean, geez, Pacific really going on the way out. I said the other day they should have a tournament like DePaul, Pacific, Detroit, IUPUI. Get all those guys in
there.
Yeah, get them in like an Elite Eight, and then let those guys duel it out for like the Slop Bowl.
I mean, it's just been a bad product all around. Hopefully, it gets a lot better. But look, this is what happens when you have the bad teams in each conference. I think in order for Pacific or Pepperdine to even make the West Coast final, they got to win, 4 games because of the ladder bracket. So look, the seedings tell you everything in these conferences. But yeah, it's been especially bad. So hopefully we'll get a better product out on the floor tonight. Before we get into tonight's games, let's talk about the bubble real quick because it feels like there was a little bit of movement overnight, especially with Seton Hall beating Villanova. Mark, I'll go to you. You and I have talked about the bubble being super soft all season. There's a few in play tonight: Colorado, Utah, but not too much. I mean, are we just kind of stuck with the same 10 to 12 teams going into next week for the bubble?
Yeah, it's just going to come down to how many bids get stolen and how many people get pushed down. And I do think that there's 2 pretty big games for. I guess Utah just can't lose. It's not like a big game for them to win. They just can't lose it to have a chance. Colorado, that is a big game. If Colorado can win at Oregon as an underdog, that could definitely help them and help their case. But I feel like we're going to get all these Big East teams in. It's a shame because I don't even know if any of them are all that good. But I really do think we're going to see Villanova, St. John's, and Providence all get in. And Seton Hall, too. I think all 4 get in, and I think it'll come at the expense of teams like Utah, Colorado. Even I could see them really bypassing the ACC and saying, get out of here, Virginia, which I don't know if they're wrong to do that because Virginia is unwatchable at times. So I really, really want, and we can talk about this when we talk about a game, when we talk about Colorado, Oregon tonight. I'm blinded. My opinion's blinded in that game by wanting Colorado in the tournament because they have so much talent on that team. If they could put it together for a couple straight games, that's the type of team that you could see making a run. But it's a really, really hard spot in Oregon.
I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. Wake Forest, we thought they were in 2 weeks ago after beating Duke, and then they've done everything in their power to not be in the NCAA tournament since then. Oh, they have to be out. 100%. Yeah. I would say they're out at this point. But that's what I mean when we talk about these teams that we think are so-called good or at least on the bubble. I mean, look, Wake Forest is the perfect example of that. Now, look, when you have this bubble situation right now where, according to Lenardi, Virginia's the last team in, Providence is the first team out, Utah and Colorado are going to have to do something tonight to show something. And then it really is going to come down to the Big East tournament and who basically reaches the semifinals. And if any of those teams can do it, they'll get in. I think Seton Hall, just because of where they are, feels safe-ish. Villanova feels kind of safe. If they beat Creighton on Saturday, I think they're definitely in, regardless of what happens in New York. And then it's St. John's and Providence. I think they got work to do. But yeah, it's just
Providence has a huge opportunity this Saturday night with UConn coming.
Right, which I mean, can they do it? No, because none of those teams have been able to do it. And I mean,
that's tough.
Yeah, exactly. And then
Providence at home has been so good. I think like 5 losses over the last 2 years, and they just lost that last home game to Nova. So do we see them dropping 2 in a row too? Like that's their Super Bowl. Neptune said it last night too about Nova with Creighton on Saturday. Like that has to be your approach. Like this is our Super Bowl on Saturday.
Which is kind of a shame it's gotten to that point.
Yeah.
No,
I think the
I
one
agree
thing with
that.
Nova, though, that they have in their favor, the lowest team or the highest ranked team in the net to ever get left out of the tournament was 33. They're in there at 29. So even with their up and down performance from throughout the season, they're still kind of above that little data point threshold. So I think that's certainly something to monitor. But if they lose Saturday, they're going to have to win probably, I'd say, 2 games to feel good. But DraftKings still has them at minus 220 to make the tournament right now.
Well, that's because the bubble is so soft.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
I think they're in. I think Villanova's in at this point. I think Seton Hall's in at this point. I really do think it comes down. I think Iowa, Memphis, Pitt, Wake Forest. I think all those teams are out looking at the bubble, to be honest, unless you go on a crazy run, maybe even win. I think those teams may even have to win their conference tournament, to be honest. Maybe if Iowa got to a Big Ten championship game. I really do think it comes down to that middle of like, looking at Lunardi's bubble, the last 3 teams in are New Mexico, St. John's, and Virginia. The first 3 teams out are Providence, Utah, and Colorado. I feel like it's just going to depend how many spots there are for those 6, because those are the 6 that are in the middle, I think.
By the way, Pacific is now up to 7 points.
I thought you meant they cut the lead to 7. I was like,
no,
39-2.
That's long gone. So I guess what it comes down to, and we'll get more into this next week, but it feels like there's 3 to 4 specific conferences. The Atlantic 10, the American Athletic Conference, and maybe 1 or 2 more that we have to have our eyes on in terms of bid stealers, because we're operating under the assumption that Dayton is in, that Florida Atlantic is in, and that in these bracket projections, a Richmond or a South Florida is in because they get the automatic bid. So those 2 come to mind right away. Are there any other conferences next week that we should be really paying close attention to when it comes to potential bid stealers?
I think I guess you could lump this into, on Sunday with the Missouri Valley, if you get Drake, Indiana State final, and Drake wins, say, I don't think Drake will make it as an at-large, but I think Indiana State has a more likely shot. If Drake gets the automatic, does Indiana State get in as an at-large, or are they on the outside looking in? That's one that just pops off the head right away that's coming this weekend. So that's what I would look at right there.
I'm thinking about conferences that don't have – I'm thinking about the Mountain West. I just don't know who the bid stealer would be there. Obviously, there's a bunch of teams there who we're relying on in. If we'd have to include another one, that could get weird. The ACC probably only has 3 teams in. I think almost definitely only has 3 teams in, and then Virginia's the kind of the question mark. If you see a Pitt, a Syracuse, a Wake Forest, a Virginia Tech, NC State, one of those teams go on a run, which doesn't seem impossible, it feels like that's a conference that could get a little hairy.
I'm going to throw one super long shot out there into the air, and this is a team playing tonight. USC. They've been playing a little bit better down the stretch. I'm not convinced. Other than Arizona in the Pac-12, I think they've won 3 of their last 5.
Don't hate on Washington State.
Yeah, Washington State too. I guess you could say that. But Colorado, they only lost 2 by 3. Washington State, they only lost 2 by 3. Beginning of the year, this team was projected to finish, I think, second in the Pac-12. All they have to do is put it together for a few games. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but if you want to take a long shot based off a team with talent and a not-so-dominant conference, I think USC could maybe make some noise too, because Collier's back fully healthy and rounding into form. I think it may be worth a look. I'm interested to see when the Pac-12 bracket comes out what their number is, but that's a super long shot that I'm keeping an eye on.
I think they fall into the category more of teams, because the Pac-12 is getting 2 teams in regardless. I think they fall more into a category of teams that could upset the bubble. I think in terms of teams that will add one undoubtedly to their conference's bid total. I think the AAC and the A10 are the 2 biggest, because regardless of what Arizona and Washington State do in the Pac-12 tournament, they're in. USC could be a threat to the bubble, but I think it's very clear we're getting 2 from the Pac-12. But it's just hard to say, okay, X bid stealer, because even in the ACC, I think Clemson's the 3rd team in with UNC and Duke. So I think it comes down to like how it affects the bubble in that regard. It's going to be fascinating because, I mean, who knows at this point?
Maybe Memphis as well in the American. I mean, we saw what they were when they were clicking. Maybe they get a spot as well. Not what they've been doing recently, but who knows? If Florida Atlantic slips up, are they definitely in? Like I was looking at their resume the other day. The best thing they have for them is their non-conference strength of schedule. They scheduled really well, but I mean, are they really in? That was a close game last night too against North Texas.
Yeah, Memphis has been playing with fire for about the last 2 months. So I don't know.
Like they were number 10 in the country.
Yeah, so I have a lot of trust issues when it comes to the Memphis Tigers and thinking they're actually legit because who knows? They could get into the tournament and then, man, not look great. Real quick on Villanova, they Dayton bound if they're in.
I don't know. They might get in outright. To be quite honest with you, I think as of right now, if I had to predict, I'd say they get in outright.
I'd say right now, if the season ended today, they would be first four. But you go and beat Creighton, and who knows, maybe make a run to the semifinals. I think that they'll be in the field safely. Maybe then that's when like a Seton Hall or maybe a Providence. And another team we didn't talk about in the Big East too, St. John's. They're still alive as a potential bubble team getting in the back end there as well. But I think we could see two teams from the Big East in Dayton.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. All right, so let's get into tonight's matchups. Real quick, when it comes to conference tournament play, we have the Ohio Valley with 2 games, 2 more games in the Missouri Valley, 2 games in the A-Sun, 2 games in the Sun Belt, one of which just tipped off. Full slate in the Patriot League and a full slate in the Horizon League. And then this Pacific Pepperdine game that's now 47-7 in favor of Pepperdine. So I hope you guys took the waves at whatever number they were because that game is already over. So I want to get into these because we've had some upsets so far. The top seed, Eastern Kentucky in the A-Sun, is gone. The Jacksonville Dolphins, the 10 seed, have gotten into the semifinals now, which is one of the more incredible storylines. The Horizon League is just getting going at their prelims the other night. Sun Belt could be interesting tomorrow with App State and James Madison entering the fray. Watching the Missouri Valley today. I don't have anything on it tonight.
Brickfest.
But Belmont looked good.
You know who looked bad? Murray State.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord, 35 points. Missouri State had that the whole way. That was a comfortable one for me, which felt good after having a pretty couple brutal days there.
Sometimes you just have to see one through the net.
Yeah, seriously.
Murray State could have seen a couple through the net.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so Pacific at this point, right?
Yeah, jeez.
So let's get to some of the games today. I'll start, and I have a play on both games in the Atlantic Sun. And look, I did this the other night where I faded the teams that made it, that had one game beforehand. They played back-to-back nights. It worked out with one regarded in Stetson, who's now the favorite to win, the 2 seed. I think this is pretty easy tonight against Jacksonville. Look, it's a great story for the number 10 seed to end up in the semifinals of a conference tournament. But how many times do we see the magic just wear off? These teams don't play 3 games in 4 days ever in conference play. Maybe in non-con, but that's also very rare because of travel and everything like that. This is still a Jacksonville team that lost 4 or 5 to end the regular season, and they've lost both of their games to Stetson by double digits. I think this is a Stetson team that's now motivated. They get the A-Sun tournament final at home if they win this game. I'm taking them at 6.5, and I'm also taking Austin Peay at home as well, the number 4 seed against North Alabama at minus 3.5. Look, I'm kind of applying the same logic here. Home team, who knows? I mean, they're basically the message to Austin Peay is going to be, look, guys, we could potentially host the A-Sun tournament final depending on what happens. I also think they're just flat out the better team than North Alabama. Another team that, look, they pulled off the upset over Lipscomb on the road the other day, only by 2 points, but they lost 4 of their last 6 leading into this. Like, 1 game, sure. 2 games, pulling off upsets, very hard to do. So I'm going to stick with the favorites in the A-Sun. Look, it's chalky, but in certain conferences, you got to go with the chalk. And look, we've seen how many times where we get to the semifinals of a certain tournament, and that double-digit seed just fades out because they end up playing too many games in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I'm on Stetson tonight too in a little bit of a different way. I've been getting my bad luck these past few weeks. I've been coming on the hooks. Like I don't know how many games I've lost by the hook. So I'm combining two favorites I like just on the money line tonight. Stetson's one of them. The other one's Quinnipiac. Money line parlay there is plus 115. Quinnipiac with a win tonight, they clinch at least a share of the regular season MAAC title. They have Marist at home. That's a spot that I expect them to win. A lot of emphasis on that one to get it done. They're 11-2 straight up this year as a home favorite. And then with Stetson as well, Joe, you hit on my points. That's a team that's won by double digits twice. Jacksonville, the 10 seed. You just have to think that their magic kind of runs out. They almost tried to give that game to Eastern Kentucky the other night at the end. I was watching it. Fouled the guy shooting the three. He missed the first free throw, made the second, missed the third. They got the offensive rebound, missed a layup to win it at the end. So I just think that Jacksonville team's running out of steam too. So Stetson, Quinnipiac there, moneyline parlay plus 115, two nice favorites.
And Quinnipiac could have run away with that conference too. They lost like 4 in a row earlier this month. They were a team I was betting on a decent amount. Man, they just plummeted. But it's good to see them bouncing back. Maybe we'll get multiple teams from Connecticut in the NCAA tournament as well. Wouldn't that be fun if that was a 116 UConn against Quinnipiac?
And you could get a third with Central too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Maybe even Yale.
Hey, look.
I got to be honest.
Of the Northeast.
I wouldn't have been able to tell you that Yale was in Connecticut. I knew it was in the New England area. I wouldn't have known. So I just learned something.
Look, we have geography lessons. Look, with all these mid-major teams, we could give you like Jacksonville's in Florida, but Jacksonville State's in Alabama. That's something I learned. Yeah, it's weird stuff. Right, let's get to one of our favorite leagues. I don't know if you have any plays in the horizon tonight, but by just principle alone, I'm betting the Wright State over at 161.5 against Northern Kentucky. I think the better play is Wright State on the spread. But look, I've been sitting here every Thursday for the last 2 months saying bet the Wright State over. They can't play look at defense. They play at an incredible pace.
It's a salute to them.
Exactly. This bet is a hard-earned $10 salute to Wright State and the job they've done. Now, that being said, there's another team in the Horizon League who I've had my eye on as well, and that's Purdue-Fort Wayne. And because of the pace they play at, I believe they rank in the top 40 at number 36 in adjusted tempo on KenPom. And they got to push the pace a little bit tonight on the road at Oakland, the top seed, who can play offense pretty well themselves. And the one thing I like here with Oakland, even if they do get ahead, they're the 52nd ranked team in free throw shooting. That helps. Every little point helps in this point of the season. The number's at 146.5. I think it dipped a little bit throughout the day. But I'm taking 2 Horizon League overs in 2 spots where I think Purdue-Fort Wayne's going to have to push the pace. And look, these aren't great defenses either. Neither of them rank in the top 100 in 3-point or 2-point defense, Purdue-Fort Wayne and Oakland. So, yeah, I'm just going to stick to my guns here in my principles and Horizon League overs. And I'll put one more out there too. I'm sticking to the OVC as well, Ryan. Western Illinois and Morehead State. I got to keep running with the Leathernecks, one of my favorite teams to bet on. Always a short favorite, 2.5, and then Morehead State 9.5, and then we get into the fun stuff tomorrow. Mark, there's one big line that you and I have to talk about, and it's not in the mid-majors. It's Temple. What is going on here, man?
No one knows. And this is just classic. Like, I've been the coldest gambler alive the last couple days. And I the one thing that has been working for me lately, and I actually had a nice little streak before this cold streak, but Temple has been playing a lot better basketball down the stretch here. They were a little bit of a joke earlier on in the season for sure, but I think they've won 3 of their last 4, 2 of which as 6-point or larger underdogs. And then you look at UAB, who comes into this not playing great basketball. They've lost 3 of their last 4, including a 23-point loss to Rice, where they were an 11-point favorite at home. Like, this is not, Jelly Walker's UAB. I think UAB is really taking a step back. I know that the big difference, 18-11 with UAB, 11-18 with Temple. I thought this should have been a pick'em. So Temple at plus 2.5, I ended up buying in on. You can see this line anywhere from 5.5, 7.5, 8.5, depending on where you're looking. I don't know what's going on. I looked it up. G Unit, Greg Peterson, he knows a lot about, when this line movement stuff. He tracks it pretty closely. He has no idea what's going on with Temple. I don't know if they went out last night. Who knows? I have absolutely no idea what's going on. But yeah, I'm tempted to buy back in again at like +8 or wherever it's going to land here, since I bet a stupid line clearly at +2.5. Who knows? What a bizarre.
Like somebody has to be injured.
Or like arrested, or like
is there anyone on Temple though that's really worth that much?
That's what G Unit said. Yeah.
Nobody on Temple is worth that many points. So like, what's going on here? It's not like UAB is like a FAU type thing in the AAC where like, okay, I could see the movement of like multiple points in a day. But this is one of the crazier line movements I think I've seen all season.
It's weird.
Temple 4-1 as a home underdog against the spread too. They've been pretty good in that spot, and I think UAB is 1-3 as a road favorite this year against the spread.
Looks like you're buying back in, Mark.
You don't come into the Liacouras Center as a road favorite. You better beware when you come to the Liacouras Center.
Wait, there could be a connection. Last night, the women's team, I believe, did win the American Championship for the first time ever. Could there have been a post party after that?
Who knows?
There's your maybe someone went out last night connection.
I mean, it's just an insane. But like at that point, I guess like I like where your head's at though, Mark. I probably would have bought back in on Temple because I like the way they've been playing. And like you said, UAB didn't Andy Kennedy get wasn't he in the headlines over the last week or two for getting ejected or like a couple technicals?
Yeah, I think he was.
He's one of those that
I like
pops
Andy
up.
Kennedy though.
Yeah, I like him too, but he pops up in like mid-February, like he's done some crazy things again. Here goes the crazy guy.
He was definitely like I remember he took full media advantage of when Jelly Walker had that run at UAB.
Oh, he did.
Like, I'm gonna do every interview.
But that's the way you got to do it in that level. Absolutely, I don't hate that whatsoever. Let's wrap things up because we got Phillies coming up at 6:30. Anything else on your guys' cards? It feels like it's a pretty light night for both of you.
Lehigh. I'll just run through mine real quick. So I got like barely anything. I gave Temple Lehigh -2.5 against Lafayette in the Patriot League over there in Easton, PA. I know a lot of people from Easton, tough area there. Lehigh -2.5. They're the 6th seed, but they're the better team. They should be favored by even more. I think that they've won twice. They've beaten Lafayette at home and on the road. I think they're the better team. Just real quick, that's something I looked at for tomorrow. Mercer -4.5. I mentioned that.
There you go.
Mentioned that
your Bears.
Odds ago. My Mercer Bears. They're -4.5 against Citadel tomorrow in the tournament. I also like a little sprinkle on their team total over at 71.5. They scored 85+ in 4 of the last 5 games, and in the other one they scored like 75. That offense is humming ever since they started playing. They're freshmen. And then I also like the under at 138.5 in VCU Dayton. They played each other earlier, and it was 49-47. I don't know why the total went up 4 points after that game. It was 134.5 in that game. Now it's 138.5. Doesn't make any sense. Also, Boise +6.5 against San Diego State. I'll throw it out there. San Diego State, I feel like they're coasting to the tournament. I feel like they're like, all right,
I think they are, yeah.
Let's just, I don't care.
By the way, the basketball gods better not give us Virginia versus VCU at any point ever, because I think that total would barely scratch 100.
I'm shocked that this VCU Dayton total.
It actually is pretty insane. It's the first time I've looked at tomorrow's lines.
I'm shocked at that. I thought it'd be like 125.
Beef, what you got on the rest of your card?
Well, bad news for you. I took the Wright State, Northern Kentucky over, and the Oakland, Purdue, Fort Wayne over. So I guess we can chalk those up as losses. But I had that Quinnipiac Stetson.
Positive vibes.
Quinnipiac Stetson money line parlay there at +115. Then I went to the Pac-12 for 2 home favorites. Oregon and Washington State money line parlay at +119. Colorado, terrible away from home this year. 2-7 against the spread, 0-4. It's straight up as an away underdog. Oregon's been awesome at this spot at home, 12-1 straight up as a home favorite. And then when you look at Washington State, awesome as a home favorite too, 14-1 in that spot. and Washington, who they're playing, only 1-5 straight up as an away underdog. And then my last play, I went with a team that I talked about a little bit earlier with USC. Arizona State, USC over 146.5. USC 19-10 to the over on the season. They've hit the over in 3 of their last 4 games. They've been playing better, and that offense is clicking a little bit. So I think that they're going to take care of Arizona State tonight, and they're going to put up 80-plus points. They should be able to hit it with that number.
I'm on Stetson at 6.5, Western Illinois 2.5, Austin P 3.5, Morehead State 9.5, all favorites. Also on Tarleton State minus 7.5 in the WAC. We mentioned the 2 Horizon League overs. I'm also on Cleveland State plus 9.5 against Youngstown State in the Horizon League tournament. I'm all over the Horizon. We only have a few more games left in that league to bet. And then I'm also on the Wazoo Washington, the Apple Cup over 149.5. I've fallen in love with Washington State. I'm a sucker for them right now, and the way they play. They're very balanced. Miles Rice is fantastic, and I think they're going to score a lot of points. And Washington's got, I think, a top 70 2-point offense as well, so should be able to go up and down tonight in that game. Guys, good luck on your picks. Let's hope this is just a very temporary. Let's clap it up. It up and rally the troops.
Feeling good.
Come on, Mark. We got this.
I can't do it.
Tonight's the night.
We're going to rally the troops. We're going to have an awesome night. When I tweet out in the morning what our record is combined, we're going to have a very high winning percentage. I might carry the team. I might. But I really hope you guys win a lot of bets tonight.
Thank you, Joe. So do you.
Positive vibes. Look at you, Mark. Give me something. Give me some positive vibes before we leave.
We're gonna get it turned around before March. I don't know if tonight's tonight, but we're in March. But
the first part of that sentence was good for the positives.
We're gonna get it turned around.
Go Temple.
Go Temple. Yeah.
6 points. The line moved. I don't even.
For Mark Henry, Ryan Coyle, I am Joe Tansey. Best of luck on your bets. I don't know. Bet Temple. We'll see what happens with that line, what it settles at, and who's actually playing. But best of luck to everybody in your bets. We'll be back next week with the College Basketball Show.